Saw dudes. This is what Hydroid is currently capable of against Steel Path enemies, and it is ridiculous. The recent rework to Hydroid turned him into an endgame monster. He is now capable of AoE armor strip, health tanking, and status negation on top of convenient crowd control. In my personal opinion, he went from a C tier frame to a solid A tier. He's not exactly the best, but the tools he offers make him a very good choice for a caster frame and will add value to any team. Let's get started. Hydroid's passive is centered around the application of corrosive status effects. Enemies damaged by him are permanently more vulnerable to corrosive status, with initial status reducing armor by 50% rather than 26%, allowing corrosive status to reach 100% armor reduction at full stacks. Keep in mind that bosses are immune to his passive and are only affected by the normal corrosive proc behavior. Hydroid's one is Tempest Barrage, which marks an area for water missile bombardment. Missiles explode on impact, dealing AoE corrosive damage with a guaranteed status effect with a 5 meter splash radius. The missile explosions are guaranteed to stagger enemies. The ability can be recast as many times as desired to create multiple barrage zones. For optimal gameplay, set your energy color to deep yellow. Hydroid's 2 is Tidal Surge. On cast, Hydroid cleanses all negative status effects and turns into a sentient wave of water. Hydroid is invulnerable in this form and can steer the direction of travel. Hitting enemies with the ability ragdolls them and brings them along, depositing them in front of Hydroid after the ability ends. Those hit by the ability have corrosive procs applied to them, with the amount based on the time spent in the wave. His 3 is Plunder. Hydroid rips armor from all enemies in line of sight in a set range, removing any active corrosive status effects from them to permanently strip their armor. For the next 25 seconds, Hydroid gains bonus armor and a corrosive damage bonus to all weapons and abilities, scaling with the number of enemies affected and corrosive procs consumed. Lastly, Hentai Pirates 4 is Tentacle Swarm, perfectly named. Hydroid summons a massive tentacle monster with unholy intentions, causing tentacles to spawn in all areas within a designated space. Tentacles lift enemies into the air and suspend them, suffering from corrosive damage and procs every second. The build today is meant for high endurance runs and farming setups. While you can be mobile with the setup, it's encouraged to use it in choke points to prevent the swarms of oncoming adds. We'll be subsuming Breach Surge onto Hydroid, replacing Tidal Surge to add more crowd control and potential damage to the mix. The mod setup places heavy emphasis on shield gating and survivability via Rolling Guard and the Augur set. To kick off shield gating, Brief Respite takes up the Aura slot. It converts 150% of energy spent on abilities into shields while overshields are inactive. Since the build spams abilities a lot, this will lead to extremely fast shield regeneration. In the Exile slot, the best option is Prime Sure-Footed to prevent all forms of stagger and knockdowns. Because I don't have the mod, I opted to use Handspring, the next best thing. Prime Continuity extends the duration of all of our abilities and increases the uptime of Tempest Barrage. Prime Flow increases the total energy reserves to 641 and is required due to the high amount of ability casting that Hydroid relies on. Augur Reach pushes out the effective range of all of his abilities and provides more shields on ability cast. Pilfering Swarm causes enemies touched by his tentacles to drop more loot. Loot also includes energy and health orbs and provides team-wide support. Rolling Guard offers another layer of survivability and makes up for the loss of Tidal Surge. It cleanses status effects upon rolling and provides 3 seconds of invulnerability. This momentary invulnerability is perfect in situations where shield gating is not enough to survive. Augur Secrets increases the damage of abilities, but is also good for increasing the damage multiplier of Breach Surge for insane damage numbers. Power Strength also increases the scaling of Plunder's armor and corrosive damage bonuses. Since it is an Augur mod, it stacks with Augur Reach to provide more shields on ability cast. Umbral Intensify does the same job as Augur Secrets, minus the shield gating utility. You're free to use regular Intensify if you don't have the mod or the format. Finally, Viral Tempest allows Tempest Barrage to apply viral status effects to enemies on top of corrosive procs. This is great for damage over time weapons and makes weapon scaling much more viable. If the video is helpful in any way, please consider subscribing as it helps me out a lot. The arcanes I chose to use are Arcane Energize and Molt Efficiency. Energize increases the amount of energy gained throughout the mission and is important since Hydroid heavily relies on ability spamming. Efficiency extends the duration of all the abilities in this kit, reducing the need for recasting slightly. This is especially useful for Plunder and Tempest Barrage. Zenrik was the focus goal I went with because it provides heaps and loads of energy, essentially removing any worry of running out. Energy Pulse causes energy orbs to provide an extra 12.5 points of energy. There's also Wellspring, which causes the operator's first ability to create a well of energy, which at max rank provides 5 energy per second for 30 seconds. It's hard to pass up since it ensures that damaging abilities like Breach Surge can be constantly used. You have to remember that our ability usage contributes to shield regeneration, so Zenrik has a double function aside from raw energy regeneration. If you have access to Archon Shards, consider using 2 Amber ones to speed up casting speed by 50%. The other 3 slots are up to you, but I suggest going for Crimson Shards and aligning them for additional ability duration. Power Strength isn't needed past the mod setup. Weapons don't matter too much since enemies will be completely stripped of their armor. This opens up a lot of contenders, so it boils down to personal preference. However, I tried to stay in theme as a pirate so I ran with Kuvazar, which acts as my cannonball launcher. It works very well with research for room clearing. Have fun with the weapons you choose, just mod them out according to the missions that you're running. Since the whole build revolves around abilities, I wanted to keep my death cube on me. I have energy generator on it to keep my energy levels topped off. In combination with Zeneric, it will be extremely hard to completely run out. If you aren't as paranoid as me when it comes to that, you can use a Smedikavat with Charm to periodically double resource pickups. This works well with Pilfering Swarm and can net a load of resources with the right endurance mission. This setup is perfect for endgame since it can permanently armor strip targets. Tanky enemies don't stand a chance against the rain of urine that Hydroid brings down. With Breach Surge, unarmored enemies will take the full damage of sparks and cause a chain reaction like that seen at the start of the video. I recommend bringing this setup into survival or defense missions since it can be best used in camp areas. Let's cover the game loop before ending the video. When in a mission, you'll want to find a good area to funnel enemies into. Cast Tempest Barrage on enemies to begin stripping their armor, and wait until they are completely stripped to cast Plunder. This will provide the maximum benefit. Cast S4 to shut off entry to enemies, and then cast Breach Surge to begin the AoE shitstorm for enemies. Repeat ability cast as much as you like, or until enemies are melted by corrosive damage. Roll when you need to shake off status or get some breathing room. Rinse and repeat. HYDROID'S rework gave him a complete makeover. He's definitely not the best frame in the game, but he now has an engaging playstyle and can hold his own. I love it, and while he isn't my favorite frame of all time, I still find myself coming back to play him. As always, thank you all for watching, and happy farming.